Oh, let's try that again. All right, I'm going to welcome everybody out here to our Wednesday workshop. I'm going to be talking about three-way phone calling and using the phone, using an expert, and how to really create ongoing momentum, new momentum, and ongoing momentum in your USANA business. I'm still waiting for some people here to log on, and all right, here we go. Go ahead and give me a couple of waves if you're seeing me and hearing me okay. I had to do a couple of last-minute changes on which camera I was going to use and getting going here today. Hello. How's it going? All right. Getting people to log on now. Awesome. Hope you're all enjoying a cold Rev 3 today. I know I am right now. It's a happy Wednesday for me. I know it's hump day, basically middle of the week, but man, I've had a great week already. Been kicking butt. Before I get going here on the details on three-way calling, I just wanted to first of all thank all of you for taking time out of your day to listen to this broadcast that I'll be taking you through a lot of hopefully valuable information. Hey, Mr. Duran, good to see you, Rick. Hey, Justin, right on. But I've actually been turning up the heat the last couple of months in my USANA business, and it has been fun. So there's definitely times where I'll coast for a bit and maybe not focus on personal sponsoring, but the last couple of months, hey, Mr. Forrest, good to have you on board, on the call, Jerry. But the last couple of months, I've been ramping it up, as many of you have kind of watched my cycles and how I built my business throughout the years. And when I decide to engage and focus, then I'm bringing new people on board. In fact, one of my new associates, Jerry, right there on board, Mr. Forrest, and Rick Duran, I just saw is logged in as well. These are all new associates within just the last couple of weeks. And in the last couple of months, I've been averaging about one new person at least on every single week that I'm personally enrolling and personally sponsoring. So it goes to show to stay in the trenches. Keep focused, bringing new people on board, but of course training and working with your existing people in the legs that you're wanting to focus with and develop leadership. Hey, Mr. White. All right, well, I'm going to start off a little bit of my story. I don't want to take too much time. As many of you know, I'm long-winded when I start doing broadcasts and trainings like this, but I've been building USANA now for over 20 years. And prior to USANA, I had no experience in sales or marketing, so really I was out there working hard in the family business, installing carpet in school districts, and I did electronics repair and other types of jobs, but were all just manual labor. Did some management work. But I never thought that I'd be one day doing a broadcast which can go out to people all over the United States that are building their USANA business, teaching them how to be better at marketing themselves and marketing our products, and teaching people how to be successful and letting them feel your success and your energy on the phone using three-way phone calling. So this sales side of really building a business model like this was nothing that I thought I'd ever be doing down the road. But I've got to tell you, I can't even imagine where my life would be today if this wouldn't have become a part of my life, if I wouldn't have actually had an opportunity to first learn about this, but then engage in wanting to build it, being teachable, listening to my upline, embracing what they were doing, and catching fire with their energy as well. So let me just say that when it comes to this three-way phone calling, what's so important about it? The phone, right? We have to continue to use the phone. This is critical. And in the way that I've watched my business change and things change in our society the last many years, people are definitely focusing more on social media, which is great. And social media is a great way to interact and to engage and to open the door with individuals, continual training with individuals. The videos technology is amazing. But what tends to happen is we find out that a number of, big percentage of society tends to not be on the phone as much, right? Phone skills go down. energy goes down because they're just constantly on the phone texting, and trying to constantly connect with people, perhaps just from a social media standpoint or a texting standpoint, but maybe not getting on the phone. So phone skills, were absolutely critical to develop in the early stages of my business. And growing from just getting started to diamond director in only 20 months had a lot to do with phone skills and developing that. And prior to USANA, I had zero phone skills, meaning I wasn't on the phone marketing or selling or being able to influence and positively change people's lives. So this was all something I had to learn very quickly and then learn to duplicate as well. Let me ask everybody that's on the webcast already, let's just take a little bit of a poll here. I want to see on a scale of 1 to 10, rate yourself on how you feel about your current skill level on the phone, right? So your own current skill level, 1 being you just suck at it, like you're not that great. 10, you're a superstar. You're just killer, right energies, right, focus, and being able to really influence the way that you want to. Where do you see yourself right now on that scale of 1 to 10? So give me some feedback. Put in some comments here on where you'd be on that 1 through 10. 1, maybe not so good on the phone. 10 being you're absolutely killer on the phone. Where would you rate yourself? And if you're listening to this on a replay down the road too, I think it'd be great for you to still list this and and to take some accountability and kind of see where you can also work to be better. All right, great. Rick, I see your 7 there. Susanna 7, Iris 4, yep, and Audie 2, yep. So, the thing about this is that we have to continue to want to become better at, you're right, you are a 10, Justin, when you're in your element, that's for sure. When you're not, you're not. I love it. Okay, so we want to develop phone skills. So but we have to continue to be focused on phone skills. So we can't get away from using the phone. If we want to continue to build a strong business in our industry, and with USANA, you have to continue to be driven on the phone. But you have to be able to duplicate that for your organization to be doing it as well. So you want to be able to constantly have your associates and your team members listening to your energy, listening to how you are on the phone. And how do we do that? Well, we have to do that through three-way phone calling. This is the magic, this magic piece that makes a huge difference in how we grow our business. And really, as an up-and-coming leader or an existing leader or a strong, veteran leader with USANA, we have to continue to demand phone skills. So if we get away from that, and we're not really demanding our newer associates or existing associates to be good on the phone, to actually still pick up the phone, call people, create urgency, to be able to share USANA with people, get a commitment from people to look at USANA, or answering questions with an expert, right? So I call it the 3Ds. So we're going to develop phone skills, we're going to duplicate phone skills, and we are going to demand phone skills. So one more time, that's develop phone skills, duplicate phone skills, and demand phone skills, right? So this is important. So we always want to continue to become better. Sometimes we get on the phone and we find ourselves not having enough energy level. It's important that you stand up, okay? You get on the phone. If you're on the phone, you need to increase your energy level. Stand up when you're on the phone. Walk around. Use your favorite headset, right? So for me, I love my AirPods. So my Apple AirPods, they're wireless. They're easy to be able to use in my ears, be able to walk around wherever I'm at. And I'll run the batteries out of these pretty quick. I'm constantly charging them. But I have a backup wired, my favorite, headphones for my phones as well. So I can use this conveniently wherever I go, running around the house, driving the car, and if I'm in the car, making sure that I'm using hands-free. There's no excuse not to be able to make phone calls when you're in the car, guys. How many people, you spend so much time in your car. Don't be texting people in your car. Don't be looking at social media to where you can get in an accident. But dialing somebody's phone number or accessing, at least creating the call, being on hands-free, all the time in your car, you can be making phone calls. Making phone calls to prospects, making phone calls to associates, letting them feel what you're up to, what you're focused on, or if they have anybody that you can talk to on a three-way phone call for them. So, definitely you want to have times when you're listening to music that creates energy for you and kind of gets you going for the day. When I'm in the shower, I have my favorite songs on and I have a great sound system and it gets me motivated and rocking for the day. When I'm in the car, I'm not listening to music. I don't need to be motivated when I'm in the car because what I want to be is on the phone, okay? So now, back in the day when I began, I struggled a lot with talking on the phone. So I stuttered on phone calls. I still do a little bit today, but I stuttered a lot. And I had a hard time picking up that energy level. My upline literally was so aggressive. Many of you still know the story and know who he was, but so aggressive, he'd kick the chair out from underneath me if I continued to sit down and not have enough energy when I was on the phone. So he was a big proponent of making sure that I stand up, walk around, transmit that energy level when you're talking to individuals, and that confidence level and that posture level. So three-way phone calling, there are so many different advantages to be able to use three-way phone calling. It's like magical in our business. And the first one is definitely being an expert. And I'm going to be breaking down being an expert and why we do that and why it makes a better influence for new people that are looking at USANA. But it's also because when you're on a three-way phone call with any of your associates and you're talking to their prospect or one of your prospects or even just another associate, it's teaching you to be the expert, right? You are now gaining more confidence if you know that you have to be the expert on some of these calls. What's great too is you can do simultaneous training with three-way phone calling, right? So you can dial up and add another person to the call that might be two of your new associates. And they might even be sidelined, right? They may not even be in the same organization. That doesn't matter. Just bring them on anyways. And if you're talking about new things, you're talking about some advice around maybe overcoming objections or advice about the USANA United USA page or advice about anything that's happening or a promotion in the company, why not dial in at least two associates, and sometimes you have phones, you can even dial in more than that on the same phone call. But at least three ways, at least just access at least two people. So you're kind of knocking out two birds with one stone, so to speak, but it's showing your associates how three-way phone calling can be magical that way. Create existing energy, create more energy. Also, even calling USANA customer service. So sometimes when I'm enrolling a new associate, if I'm, the last couple of weeks when I've been cranking, I have not even had time to get online and put in their enrollment. So I'll often just call customer service with a three-way phone call. I'm usually running two different phones. I got one that's actually doing the live, broadcast right now, but I run two phones. And the reason for that is because I can multitask. So when I have USANA customer service on the line and helping me to enroll a new person, I've got them literally on speakerphone on mute and letting them go through that process. And now I'm actually looking at my phone and doing some other things and maybe making another call while that's occurring. So you can start to multitask. It's fun. I remember we had, what's his name? The Mr. Presentation guy, Jerry, I forgot his last name now, but we were in San Antonio. We were doing, it was one of the big, celebration events, and we had a leadership meeting, and he had asked everybody in the room, now, okay, raise your hands for everybody that has, just one phone in the room, and raise your hands if you have two phones in the room. So I raised my hand, I think I stood up or something like that, and then I think there was someone in there that even had three. And he was just like, that's it. That is the name to being effective and having productivity, is having, serious focus on phones. Like if you have more than one phone, sometimes that helps you get a lot more done. Same concept with, adding more people to hear your voice, right? Another thing is recognition. So if you're going to be recognizing some new associate for their efforts, and maybe you have an upline member that you can, connect before you've hit that part of the genealogy, call them, then call that new person, and both recognize that new person for their, they're either coming on board in the business, a welcome aboard call, or a new advancement, reaching a certain pin level, and it creates more teamwork, more family, and they get a chance to hear it from more than one person. So I was looking back to when I first began the business, and wow, it seems like it was forever ago. But going back then, we put a big focus on training. Back then, USANA didn't have maybe as much training materials and things that are available out there, so we were constantly plugging into what our upline was doing, which is what most of us do. But Infinity Marketing Concepts was the training system back then, called Phase 1. But I remember there were these 3 circles that my upline had drew out on a whiteboard and a piece of paper when I first began. And so inside this workbook, we have a couple old, we haven't seen these for a while, right? Cassette tapes, VHS tapes. Anyway, so in here, there is using the expert page. And I think this could be reversed for you guys. I'm not sure. I hope it, I'm still getting figured out how I need to be able to do that so it does. I wonder if I can switch my camera the other way right now. I'm not sure. But anyways, I'll send a couple of pictures in the comments at the end of the live broadcast so that you can see some of these. But it talks about the prospect, the expert, and you, and the importance of connecting each 3 of these these individuals. And the key to doing this is 3-way phone calling for sure, but also it can be done when you are in a live environment. So when you go meet with someone in person, still learning how to use an expert effectively is the key, and especially with 3-way phone calling, because you can make a lot of mistakes on 3-way phone calling. So I'm going to teach you how to avoid those. So keep in mind that when it comes to these 3 circles, let's just talk about a newer associate is on board with USANA. You are their sponsor, their mentor, meaning you are the expert for them, right? They are out there introducing new people to USANA, making a commitment that they're going to, watch a presentation video, or, watch a live presentation broadcast, or somehow get valuable information with USANA. Maybe 30 minutes or so is what I'd like to see people do on average to learn about USANA. But the follow-up with those new prospects for that new associate should really be done with an expert, right? Using 3-way phone calling, because think of the credibility that happens when you can bring someone into this circle. So the prospect always will trust you as a new associate, right? But that doesn't mean that they respect your business decisions yet. You don't maybe have a big success story yet in the company. For example, if we were to run around and go to, if you're a newer associate, so let's just say one of my associates, Rick's actually on the live webinar. So if I go and walk around and try to figure out people's homes that Rick would know, maybe in his neighborhood, well, if I go as an expert and just knock on one of those homes' doors, and Rick kind of tells me who they are, but Rick's not going to stand there with me and hasn't talked to them about it. If I go up and say, man, hey, I want to talk to you guys about USANA. It's the most incredible company. It changes people's lives. There's incredible athletes involved, and Dr. Oz is connected with this, and there's so much amazing things, and I've earned millions of dollars doing this. In fact, tens of millions of dollars in building my business. But I'd like to be able to show you how to become a millionaire. I'd like to show you how to be able to earn millions doing this. Now, how far do you think I would get, walking into their home? Are they going to invite me into their home and really listen to what I have to say? They don't really know me from Adam, right? But If we were to do it a different way and Rick walked me over there to their home, maybe Rick had made a phone call to them already and told them, hey, I've got a really important business partner that's in town, and I want him to be able to tell you a little bit about what we're doing with the expansion of a very incredible company. And it may or may not be for you, I don't know, but I can tell you he's done incredibly well. He's earned millions of dollars building this. He's helped develop millionaires around the world. He's an expert at international business. And he's just a really great guy, a really down-to-earth guy, and I'd really like for you to meet him. I'm going to bring him over, potentially tomorrow afternoon. So now Rick walks me over to the neighbor's house. And what had happened during that process is that Rick had edified me, right? Because edification is what creates the respect level, so that when we now arrive at that person's door and they answer the door and Rick says, hey, so I told you a little bit about Jeremy that I was going to be bringing over here. Here he is, Mr. Stansfield himself. And, do you mind if we come inside? Well, now the neighbor, of course, is going to let us inside. Why? Because there was an introduction from Rick in advance. There was Rick sharing valuable edification about who I am as an expert at our business and having experience, right? So I'm not saying that's how we go grow our USANA business in terms of just going to people's doors and door knocking your friends or your neighbors. That's not what I'm trying to say. But the concept is that if you have edification and then you bring on an expert to talk to that prospect, okay, this is the magic on how it works. So if Rick is doing some three-way phone calls with me and he's introducing me to someone that has now reviewed information and watched a presentation with the company, may or may not have questions, but Rick says, hey, you know what, Julie, it's really important to me that once you finish reviewing this information and the presentation materials I've sent you, I really want to get you on the phone with Jeremy. I think it would work out best if we could talk to you on, we'll say Thursday at 4:00 p.m. Would that work for you? Now, Julie, I got to tell you, I'm new in the business, and it would really mean a lot to me that if we have Jeremy on the line and I introduce to you on a three-way phone call, well, what will happen is I'll have an opportunity to listen to what Jeremy has to say too, because I learn a lot every time I'm on the phone with Jeremy. He's an expert at building this business. He's had tremendous credibility in developing huge success stories in our company. He's going to be able to teach you his story, the vision of the company, more about the science, and more about his credibility. So what will happen is by Rick sharing edification, that process of edification, now what happens when we get on the phone on a three-way phone call, and typically what Rick would do is Rick would call me first on Thursday at 4, and already let me know that that's when we're doing our three-way. Call me, and then he would call over to Julie and add that person onto the line, and then hit join call on the phone, and then that brings us through. And then Rick will immediately say, hey, Julie, hey, listen, I told you I'd be calling you around, today around 4. It's 4. I've got Jeremy on the line, and like I told you, he's tremendously successful at this. I know you're still potentially reviewing some of the information. If you haven't got through it all yet, that's okay. No big deal. Jeremy, this is Julie. Julie has been a really good friend of mine, and actually I've known her to be very highly motivated. She's always got great energy. She cares about her health. She's always looking fantastic. She's always got a great sphere of influence, and I've really wanted you guys to be able to meet. So Jeremy, this is Julie, and Julie, this is Jeremy. Once Rick has done that, okay, his job is done. He sits off to the side on the call. I mean, you're all connected on a three-way phone call. But Rick sits off to the side, because now that communication between Jeremy, me as the expert, and his prospect, Julie, now we have interaction back and forth, and now there's been credibility or edification built on both sides that now make it easy for us to have great communication. And so then at that time, me as the expert, I'd ask Julie how her day is going and how, I'm excited to be able to get a chance to get to know her and a little bit about her background. Before I start getting into anything about USANA, I don't want to get on the phone call on a three-way call after, supposedly Julie's looked at information and I'm the expert. I'm not going to like ask Julie immediately, so, hey, did you look at all of the details? Did you look at all of the links that Rick sent over to you? Did you watch the full presentation? Well, what if she hadn't got through all of it yet? I mean, I don't want to be the one putting pressure on her at that point. What I would rather do is get to know her, right? Now we're on a three-way phone call. I want to get to know her better, ask questions about her background, ask questions about her family, ask questions about what she likes to do for fun, perhaps. And then I'm going to transition into talking about USANA. And if she'd had a chance to watch, and review the information that Rick had sent her. Now, I find that probably, a third of the time, the Julie, or whatever the name of the prospect was that was going through the information, probably had not even gone through any of it yet. So it takes patience. This is a business of persistence. And it's not a big deal if someone hasn't reviewed it yet. Now I've at least had a chance to be introduced to Julie, to be able to let her hear my success story or share more about the company or the vision of the company. And this now allows her to see the importance and to have even more urgency of why Julie now needs to look at that information or plug into a presentation or whatnot. And then we set up another follow-up call again. And we'll have another three-way in another day or so. Now, the great thing about all this is that Rick is sitting on the line listening to everything I'm saying. So he's technically earning while he's learning, right? So he's getting a chance to listen, to learn, to realize that someday, probably, I find usually about 10 days to 30 days, now he transitions into being that expert person. So he's paying attention because he knows that sooner or later, he's going to be the one being the expert for his associates and talking with three-way phone calls with prospects that those individuals have, right? So it's important that Rick doesn't screw this up, this process. And so by doing that, Rick has to do a few things. One, he's got to make sure that he's set up a time, because it's important when you're getting an expert on the line, make sure that you've confirmed a time. He needs to make sure that he has done edification. He's talked great things about me or whoever it might be. And you don't need to be a 9-star diamond director to be edified and successful in this business. Honestly, you can edify anyone in this business. If you just talk great things about somebody, that's just promotion, it's edification, and people will listen to what they have to say. Even a believer or a sharer in the business still is an expert. They're going to know more than people that are just brand new getting started in the business. They're going to know more than what the prospect knows about USANA, right? So you are the expert. In fact, some people feel like, I just feel like I'm not an expert. I've been building this for 6 months or for a year, and I don't think I can do three-way phone calls. I don't know if I can be that expert person on these calls to really be able to answer all the questions or encourage others. No, you absolutely can. The challenge is that a lot of USANA associates, they wait and procrastinate, and they're afraid of the phone. Don't be afraid of the phone. These things do not weigh that much. Stop thinking about the phone weighing 10,000 pounds, all right? Pick it up. Don't be afraid to make those calls. Don't be afraid to be the expert for other individuals, other associates in your business, okay? You don't have to have the same energy level as I do. I always project myself more when I'm doing live presentations like this or I'm in front of the room. Most of you know that. I don't talk like this, it's the same energy level just on all my normal conversations. But by still just increasing yourself, increasing your confidence level, making yourself do it, then it'll happen, and you'll have people looking at you as the expert, and that's when your business will really take off. I gotta tell you this funny story. When I was first given my first handoff on a three-way phone call, meaning that my upline basically wasn't going to do them for me anymore, and this was probably 30 days into the business or so. And my upline just was like, okay, I'm not doing it anymore. He's like unavailable. And I was like trying to reach him for calls and presentations. And he's like, nope, you're ready. You need to do this on your own. So it was like kicking me out of the nest, right? and it was the best thing that he could have done. It sucked at first, like completely sucked, because my first three-way phone call that I did as the expert for one of my associates calling in, man, I was nervous, I was stuttering, I'd sweat, going down the back of my neck and my back, and I was thinking, man, am I going to screw this up? And guess what? I did screw it up. My associate that had my new associate that had a prospect that was interested in you. So now they weren't interested after they talked to me. Meaning we completely lost that prospect, man. I really screwed it up. And I learned that when I got off that call that, you know what, it's okay. We all make mistakes, and I got to learn from those mistakes. I've still got to do with the next three-way phone call. I've got to push on and do it. And I thought, maybe my associates won't want to use me for three-way phone calls if I don't figure this out and get better, right? Well, you know what? My associates still believed in me because I was stepping up. And eventually, I got really, really good at three-way phone calls, to the point that a close rate on most of my three-way phone calls were in the 75% range of getting people signed up. So it will happen. This three-way phone calling is absolutely magical in how this business works. Don't be afraid of it. The other tip that I wanted to share, I think I forgot about when I was talking about the things that Rick would need to do. If he was my new associate, I'm the expert. We talked about he needs to confirm the time. He needs to make sure he's edifying me as an expert. But there was a third thing there that I wanted to make sure I shared that I forgot. And that is that Rick also would have to learn to zip his lips. Now, this is the hardest part about this whole process. It's the temptation that you want to also engage in the conversation, right? So Rick has just turned over his prospect to me on the line, Julie. Now her and I are engaging. And at some points in the conversation, I may pause because I want Julie to be able to be thinking of the next response that she's going to say to me. But Rick might think that that pause is now his indication to go, hey, I want to say something about the conversation, right? And this is a tough one. But Rick will have to absolutely fight that temptation and do not get involved in the conversation after you've passed the baton to your expert. You can't go into it. You've got to stay out of it until you are asked to be back into the conversation again. So until there might be a question or something that now involves Rick to be involved in that next question, you have to learn to zip it. Yep, you're right, April. You have to learn to just zip up your lips. And, sometimes, the longer you start building your USANA business and you get away from some of these basic principles, it can really affect your overall productivity and the duplication of productivity in your organization. Meaning that you cannot expect your associates to do anything you aren't willing to do. So the magic of three-way phone calls and being effective at all this is by you now being serious about being in the system to do this, right? You got to be in the process. You need to be that expert for your associates, new associates that are coming on board. And if you are just brand new in the business and maybe you're 10 days in or 30 days in, then you should potentially be using an expert. You should be using whoever is your upline expert that you're working with, or if you're out at big events and you happen to meet other people, whether you might be sideline helping people in USANA USA United, or you've met people at an international convention that are also building a business. You know what? You can do three-way phone call expert calls with individuals that are not even in your organization. Did you know that? Absolutely. I do trades with people all the time. So they may have somebody that I can do a three-way phone call with that can help them because somebody's reached out to me and says, I know you used to be into carpet installation. I know that you used to be, embraced in that family business and, had your pinched nerve in your shoulder. And I know somebody just like that I would love for you to be able to share your story with and be an expert on a three-way phone call. And of course I'll tell them, well, heck yeah, here's my number, let's set it up. And then I'll maybe get to know that associate's story and what they've also done, and I'll realize that I can use them on a three-way phone call later as well. Meaning that it almost reverses over time. The more successful that I've gotten in USANA, sometimes it's easier for me to, instead of me always being the expert on a three-way phone call, I'm bringing somebody else on board or on the three-way phone call that talks to my prospect to now give a different vision or something that they can add that I couldn't, or maybe that's not maybe as high on the totem pole in terms of leadership, and they're willing to listen to that person, listen to their testimonial, listen to their experiences. So three-way phone calling works, guys. Do we have any questions around three-way phone calling or how I've used it in my business? Questions. Okay, so this is just like a little page that I made real quick before the call. It has the diagram of the three circles and how that trust element works, edification and respect. It's something that you can teach your new associates with, and it has just a couple of the notes that the main things that we've talked about here on the call. So I'll make sure that I screen capture this and send it in the comments once we've closed the call, so you guys can have access to it. Work it, print it, work it over, do whatever you want with it. But it's just, keep things simple, right? Keep things simple. Thank you all for joining my live webinar today and live broadcast here. And look forward to seeing you guys at convention here real soon. It's coming right around the corner. Take care. Have a great day.